What's up, everybody? It's me, your favorite little boy in the whole wide world, Ren with 2 N's. Before we get started with part 2, make sure you go back and watch part 1. It's the best video I've ever made besides this one, so go check it out. But before we get started with part 2, let's get everybody caught up with a quick recap. Uncharted is currently in the lead. It won in the gameplay, platforming, and storytelling categories. But Tomb Raider took home the gold for its puzzles. Now, with all that out of the way, let's move on to our next category. Tomb Raider has so much to explore! Everywhere you go, whether it's out in the wild or in the middle of a story mission, there's always something to pick up, something to look at, or something to listen to. And to make sure you don't miss any important items, just click in that right thumbstick and it'll highlight every item on screen that you can pick up. While this is a convenient mechanic, I think it actually hurts the game a little bit. Because whenever I walk into a new room, rather than soaking in the atmosphere and admiring the hard work that the devs put into crafting these rooms, I just keep mashing that right thumbstick because I don't want to miss any items. But I think there's an easy fix to this, there's an easy solution. Just completely get rid of Batman Vision, and have every single item in the game have a little glint on it, or a little shiny, so that you know you can interact with it. I mean, they already do this for items that have been hidden underground, and it wouldn't be any more immersion breaking than the system that they have in place right now. Because literally every new area I walk into, I don't look at anything. I click that thumbstick, pick up my garbage, and move on. I mean, it's pretty bad. They even have rooms full of all this crap to pick up while the game is trying to give you important exposition.
A history lesson. This place has its own scars.
Each time you get to a new area, you're given a huge laundry list of busy work to complete. And I don't think any of these activities are any fun at all. You got tedious side missions, hundreds of collectibles to pick up, and a bunch of dumb challenges that have nothing to do with the main story. All these activities do is just pad out the game's length and detract from the overall main story. And let me tell you something, I hate game padding. Now, in case you don't know, game padding is when a game adds in unnecessary elements in order to lengthen your playtime with that game. But like I said, these side missions have you doing busy work. They got you doing things like killing all the wolves in a cave, or destroying 5 communications towers, or saving some useless NPCs. You know, stuff like that. And completing these side missions doesn't help you too much. You get decent stuff like weapon attachments, or XP points, or a lockpick, and weapon attachments are nice and all. They make things a little bit easier for you. But they aren't really necessary to complete the game, and neither is collecting XP. So the way XP works is pretty standard. After you earn enough XP, you level up. Each time you level up, you're given a skill point. You can then use that skill point to purchase an upgrade for Lara. And now this is actually where a lot of the game padding comes in. Because apart from 3 or 4 of these upgrades, none of them are particularly exciting or necessary. These upgrades include things like take less damage from enemies, or you have a chance to loot an arrow off of a corpse you killed, crap like that. So at the very start of this game, when I was told to purchase an upgrade, I picked one for my bow at random, and for Lara I picked an upgrade that gets me more XP if I get a kill with a weapon that I have crafted. But after going through and looking at all the available upgrades, I thought to myself, you know what? All these upgrades are worthless. So what better way to prove their worthlessness than to beat the game without purchasing another upgrade? So I did exactly that. I beat the game with a 1 perk that gives me more XP and nothing else. Not only did I simply just beat the game, but I beat it on Survivor difficulty, which is the hardest difficulty in the game. And in all honesty, I really didn't have much trouble at all. I mean, sure, I died a couple of times, but the only spot that gave me any real grief was the final combat encounter in the game. That took me somewhere between like 10 or 15 tries. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn here. I just did this as an experiment to see how useful the upgrades actually are. Not only did I neglect to purchase any upgrades for Lara, but I also did not upgrade any of the weapons. I didn't craft anything at all that would allow me to carry more ammo. I also didn't complete any side missions to get weapon attachments, and I did not buy anything from the store. I played through this game as bare bones as I possibly could, with a depraved Lara. So let's just take a quick look at my upgrade tree after having completed the game. You can see here that I have a lot of upgrade points saved up. Every upgrade I do have was given to me through the main storyline, and they were all required to progress through the game. So all of the footage you've seen of me playing Tomb Raider so far has been on the hardest difficulty, where the AI, by the way, is supposed to be at its smartest, just for reference. And yes, some of the upgrades would have made the game easier, but I honestly felt that the game was easy enough as it is, especially since Lara can heal herself back up to full health at literally any moment. So as I was saying, these upgrades pad out the game because they're not necessary. There's a small handful that are worth purchasing, but on the whole, this upgrade system exists only to give you a false sense of progression. They're just an excuse to make you go do those side missions and challenges. They also serve to try and reward you for finding the game's couple hundred collectibles. And for a good number of these collectibles, you can't even access them until you level up your Greek to level 1, or get your Russian up to level 6. Then, once you've done that, go ahead and come on back. Don't worry about that 30-second loading screen you gotta sit through to get here. And don't worry about that other 30-second loading screen you gotta sit through to get out of here. This is a video game. Video games are fun, right? Actually, you know what? That's not frustrating at all. In fact, that's kind of a brilliant idea. How about this? Don't leave a comment on this video until your English is at least level 10. I like that. But putting all this useless junk in the game detracts from the overall experience by ruining the pacing of the main story. So what do I gotta do here? Oh, okay, I gotta go investigate the ruins. But before I do that, I saw something shiny back there. I gotta go grab it. Okay, nice. I got that. Oh, now there's a deer over here. Let me just kill that real quick. All right, let me skin this bad boy. Oh, what's this? A monolith? Let's check that out. Let's see what that gives. Oh, whoops, never mind. I guess I gotta level up my Mongolian. Oh well. What was I doing again? So these extra activities also took valuable dev time away from the main story in order to create these really boring and tedious missions. Instead of focusing on a few huge and bland, wide-open explorable areas, the level design team should have been focusing on making every single combat encounter as fun and awesome as it could be throughout the main story. Instead of having to figure out how to make these huge areas traversable, they should have been focusing on making every platforming section in the main story more enjoyable. Instead of having to make animations for deer, rabbits, and gigantic mutant wolves, the animation team could have spent more time on Lara's animations to make her feel more believable. I feel like part of the reason they added in these giant explorable areas was to attempt to try and stand out from Uncharted a little bit. But I honestly think that this game would be a lot stronger if they had just put a bigger focus on the main story. You know, have her globetrotting around and stumbling into tombs that have clues in them that tell her where to go next. You know, let's go to a bunch of different locations. This game feels like it has two separate entities, and both of them are at odds with each other. The giant open environments and the main story don't mix at all. It almost feels like two separate games are vying for your attention, clashing against one another, trying to both just fit onto that disc. And conveniently enough, wouldn't you know it, this game was made by two different developers, both Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal. Now, I could be talking out of my ass with this, since I did some digging around to see what Eidos Montreal contributed to the game, and I couldn't find anything. So for all I know, Eidos Montreal just did some of the grunt work, you know, fixed up some bugs, did a little bit of coding here and there. I really don't know, but it seems kind of coincidental, don't you think? On the other hand though, Uncharted also has some really big, huge, wide open areas to explore. They're so big that you need a car to get through them. These areas are also filled with plenty of collectibles, which I'm not a fan of collectibles in any capacity. But in this case, I feel like I can skip the collectibles in this game, because if I don't pick up a collectible, I'm not necessarily missing out on actual content. I'm just missing out on a little rotating picture that I couldn't give two hoots about. And these areas aren't littered with a bunch of garbage that you have to pick up. Everything is very meticulously placed. But the thing is, these big open areas don't hurt the game's pacing. There are several routes to take, but they all lead you to the same place. And as you're driving along, Sam, Sully, and Nate converse amongst each other. They tell each other stories.
Hey Victor, what were you arguing with the rental guy about?
Oh, your brother insisted on getting a 4x4 with a winch.
They tease your driving.
You need traction here. Nathan, the rocks.
And it feels like you're on a nice little road trip with a couple of your buddies. It keeps the story moving, and it keeps you engaged. And they also sprinkle in a couple of, you know, exciting little sequences here and there. There's also some other big wide open areas that contain these optional cutscenes that you get to see if you just explore a little bit. And these cutscenes are as well written and well acted as the rest of the cutscenes in the game. They flesh out the relationships between the characters a little bit, but they aren't important to the main story. So if you just choose to plow through the game and ignore all that stuff, you miss maybe about 10 to 15 minutes worth of cutscenes and a couple of additional lines of dialogue. Nothing much really. Whereas in Tomb Raider, if you choose to plow through the main story, you miss a solid 5 to 6 hours of actual content. And sure, it's lackluster content, but I still feel like I'm missing out because when it comes to games, I am a bit of a completionist, but I still feel like I'm missing out. Because no matter how great or how terrible a game is, I want to see all the content in it. But lastly, before moving on to the final category, I gotta talk about the challenges in Tomb Raider. I've been talking a lot of crap, but the challenges here are absolutely amazing. They need to be seen to be believed. So yeah, all of the challenges in Tomb Raider are complete and total tedious bullshit. If the side missions and challenges were actually fun, and contributed to an upgrade tree that actually had more than a handful of worthwhile upgrades, then I would give the point to Tomb Raider. But instead, the point goes to my boy, Nate.
Come on, who else were you gonna pick?
Let's finish things off with a lightning round. It's still anybody's game at this point, so buckle up and let's talk about the little stuff. Now I'd love to talk about Uncharted set pieces. I could take 5 to 10 minutes to express what makes them great, as well as discuss their flaws. Then take another 5 minutes to compare and contrast them to Tomb Raiders. So, in the interest of time and objectivity, I decided to go over to my mom's place and measure her heart rate while she sat down and watched each of the game's most exciting action sequences. Keep in mind that my mom does not play games, and she does not know which of the two games I personally prefer. She's the perfect impartial party. And to all you guys out there watching this video who are probably curious, the answer is yes. My mama is single and ready to mingle. If you are interested in dating my mother, please leave a comment down below. Make sure to include your phone number, age, and penis size in the comment. 18 and over only, please. And if she likes what she sees, expect a phone call from your favorite little boy's mama within 2 to 3 business days. So with that out of the way, before watching anything, my mom had a resting heart rate of 83 beats per minute. I then had my mom watch the attack helicopter chase scene. And while watching this, her heart rate reached a high of 88 beats per minute. That's a pretty decent rise in heart rate for just sitting in a chair and not moving. While the helicopter chase played out, she watched intently, but did nothing else. So after that, I showed her the convoy chase set piece from Uncharted 4. During this sequence, her heart rate hit a high of 93 beats per minute. Not just once, but several times. That is 5 more beats per minute than Tomb Raider's high of 88 beats per minute. If we were to go off of heart rate alone, Uncharted would of course take the point. But while this convoy chase played out, my mom watched it just as intently as she did Tomb Raider's helicopter chase, but she also had quite a few decent little chuckles here and there. Something that she did not do while watching Tomb Raider. When I asked her how she felt about the 2 clips she had just seen, she had this to say.
Tomb Raider was like, when you compare the Uncharted with the Tomb Raider, there's hands down, there's no comparison.
Really?
Yeah, because with what's her chops? She's being too female-y. She's being like, oh, like she's being tough, but she's making whiny noises. So like she's afraid or something. And this guy's like talking and cutting it up, even though he's running and trying to stay alive. He's handling it better. And with her, I didn't really care about her.
I guess Mama knows best. So with that, another point goes to Uncharted.
Now we're talking!
Whether we're talking about a movie or a video game, it is widely accepted in both industries that sound is more important than visuals, because sound is part of what brings those visuals to life. And I'm an absolute obsessive nut when it comes to sound effects. Tomb Raider doesn't necessarily have bad sound design. Its sound effects are just fine. They're all passable, and they get the job done. But the sound effects in Uncharted are just incredible. Gunshots are loud and poppy. Explosions are bassy and impactful. You can feel those noises thump in your chest. Sound-wise, it's everything I look for in an action game. Naughty Dog even developed an entirely new way of implementing sound into games by using what they call sound behaviors. According to an article on DualShock, which I will link in the description, Naughty Dog also used 96 kHz, which is apparently better than what they use in most feature films. And they base their sound design around velocity.
In this game, we actually tie into the artwork for the background foliage. So if you're walking through a bush, we play the sound of a bush, and that sound is completely dynamic and variable depending on how fast you walk through the bush, what kind of bush it is, and depending on how fast you move through it, you'll get a slightly different sound, and it just adds a little thin layer of detail that's almost too easy to miss, but it's just amazing how much it connects the player with the space.
But that's just crazy. So with that, sound design has got to go to Uncharted.
Oh, Grandpa, tell Granny about that one.
Most third-person shooters are guilty of this, but if you can position your character to be behind cover while your crosshairs are on an enemy, all of your shots will hit that enemy, despite the fact that there's a wall in between your gun and that enemy. This little exploit has helped me out tremendously over the years, and you can bet your little booties that I did it in Tomb Raider. Uncharted, however, is one of the very few games I've played that does not allow you to do this. If you can shoot the enemy can shoot you right back. If you cheat, the game cheats right back at you. And you could argue that that's immersion breaking, but I already broke the immersion when I decided to cheat and shoot these guys through a wall. Give another one to Nady.
Oh, not your lucky day.
Naughty Dog always adds an extra layer of polish to their games. Like, look at this animation. I didn't even see this animation until my third playthrough of the game. On top of that, look at how he shakes with effort as he's just struggling to hold on to the truck. Look at how you can see light coming through the cartilage of his ear. Look at how the bags of rice slowly deflate as they get shot. Look at how the globe rotates as the armored car smashes through the wall. If you roll around in the mud and make Nathan a dirty little boy, it's no big deal. You can just go to a body of water, roll around in it, and clean him right up. But what's Tomb Raider got?
How will affect the environment to Lara Croft's outfit and her gear?
The weather is very important to the franchise, the Tomb Raider franchise. And in the Avalanche demo, you saw that Lara was accumulating snow on her jacket. We have the ability to bring different weather in and out of those garments. So snow will accumulate and in real time on the jacket. Rain will make it wet.
Oh, that's it? Uncharted 4 does that too, and so much more. The game is just jam-packed with countless little details that Naughty Dog didn't have to add into the game, but did it anyway. And all of these extra details just serve to make the game even more immersive. Another point goes to Uncharted.
I am on fire!
Uncharted has these neat fun little modes that you can unlock after you've beaten the game, where you can turn off all the gravity, or put the game into slow motion, or change the entire color scheme. You can even do all three at once. You can also spawn in whatever weapon you want. And you can choose a whole bunch of character skins to just goof around with. In Tomb Raider, you get to play through the game again in a couple of new jackets. Jackets with fun abilities on them, like take less damage from Greek fire. Awesome! But there's also this really fun little score attack mode that you can play. It incentivizes you to not let your multiplier run out, and to get the highest score by completing little challenges they threw in there, like taking 0 damage in a section, or getting a certain amount of stealth kills, that sort of thing. It actually makes the game a whole lot more fun to play, and it gives you a reason to keep going to try to beat your previous score. So with that, we gotta give a point to Lara.
Oh, man.
This is a video that I've wanted to make for quite a few years, and I didn't make this video to try and tell you guys which game I like more, because that doesn't matter. I might love Uncharted, or I might love Tomb Raider. I made this video to try to give people a different perspective on each game, and to attempt to put a definitive end to the discussion as to which game is better. I tried my very, very best to remain objective throughout this video, because despite all of Uncharted's critical praise, it's certainly not a perfect game. But just because one game is better than the other shouldn't take away any enjoyment you've had from that game. You can like whatever you want to like, but I think it's important to realize that just because you happen to like something, that doesn't make it good. Take Destiny for example. Destiny is the shittiest game I've ever loved. For everything it does right, there's another 2 or 3 things that it messed up on. People trash that game all the time, and I don't take offense to it, and I certainly don't allow it to take away any of the good times I've had playing that game. You're free to like whatever you want to like. I just think it's important to acknowledge when something is poorly done or wrong, because when we become blind fanboys and just get so defensive about the video games we love, it becomes harder for developers to discern what is and isn't proper criticism, and as a result, some things don't improve as much as they should. Uncharted won because objectively, Naughty Dog put more work and passion into it than Crystal Dynamics did for Tomb Raider, and you can feel that passion when you play the game.
Do you guys feel like this project is your baby at this point? You feel a lot of ownership over it?
It has to be. I mean, it's like you're investing in something for several years.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the whole team feels that way, though. I think everybody invests so much that everybody has to feel like that texture, I have to make that the most amazing texture. And you know, everybody's putting that kind of heart and soul into this thing. So I'm with Neil. If you don't feel like, I want to play this, you certainly don't want to make it. As simple as that.
If you don't like Uncharted, that's perfectly fine. But just because you don't like it, doesn't mean it's a bad game. It just means you don't like a well-made game. And there's plenty of good games out there that I really don't like. The way I see it is like this. There are facts, and then there are opinions. Fact. La La Land was a very good, well-written, well-acted, well-made movie. Opinion. I really did not like that movie, despite how well made it actually was. Now, I hope that puts everything into perspective for you guys, and again, I tried my absolute hardest to remain objective for this video. Because the truth is, I enjoy both of these games. I especially enjoyed Tomb Raider on my second playthrough since I restricted myself to no upgrades. It forced me to be a little bit more creative than I otherwise would have been if I hadn't done that. I just find these two franchises so fascinating. Like Uncharted came out and it was kind of aping off of Tomb Raider a little bit, then Tomb Raider got rebooted, and then that kind of felt like it was aping off of Uncharted, with its big set piece events, a bigger focus on character development and storytelling, as well as its focus on combat, traversal, and puzzle solving. It all came full circle, and I just think that that's so interesting. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. It took me forever to make. It has literally consumed my life for these past 2 weeks, so if you guys enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe, because doing that really does help out a small channel like mine get some much needed growth. And if you got a friend who loves or hates Tomb Raider or Uncharted, go ahead and share this video with them. And if you could give this video a tweet or post it on Reddit or whatever, that would be absolutely amazing. But anyway, I'm losing my voice from yelling at a microphone, so that does it for me. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Kitty got wet. See ya, fellas.